Today is Saturday, March 12th. Windy, blustery day. 40 degrees. Couldn't be happier. So yesterday I completed the initiation with Sethikus, Boza via Zoom. And this video may serve as much as a journal entry for myself to try to remember, as it will be an expository on the information for anyone to listen to it. There's so much to unpack internally, which will take years, but I'll summarize what the initiation was about. This will probably be only the third video in which I even mentioned this guy. And his work is quickly replacing the Mark Passio glut of time from the previous 12 months, as far as time spent consuming information. And Mark helped lay a phenomenal foundation, and now Boza is taking it much more deeply into the specificity of the invisible. And for anyone that had listened to my early videos when I was first getting started making these, I talked a lot about Dr. Cruz and what a mind-opening understanding it was for him to explain our physiological and biological interaction from a cellular level, specifically focusing on the mitochondria and its interaction and dependency on the sun, and the vastly important role that the sun played. And as I was going through his work, I was also beginning my foray into the spiritual side of things, and I think I even put it in one of the videos where I heard him on the left brain scientific side and some other unknown character on the right brain spiritual side both say within the 24-hour period come to the conclusion that we are beings of light. And it was an interesting synchronicity because there was a matching of these alternative ways of thinking. All that to be said is Cruz's work was very fundamental in my understanding to begin to grasp at the invisible in the left brain sort of understanding. And obviously I found Mr. Boza and reached out to him because the time was right, meaning I came to his information as I was led there by my higher self, or the higher force in and of itself. And so when we talk about the invisible, and I even talked about this with Bob Proctor's work, which was what got me into the spiritual side, even though it ends up being a little bit too focused on the New Age, that so much of our lives and all that surrounds us in a universal sense, meaning of the universe and the cosmos, is invisible. And what we perceive through our five senses, while very important in this temporal existence, in this physical matter-based existence, is dependent on these five senses. But if you were to think of them in terms of a spectrum or a range, they're only the very, very beginning. They're only the tip of the needle in terms of our other senses that we have, and in terms of the part of us that can perceive all that is around us. In other words, the vast majority of life around us in our environment is invisible. And so mastering your five senses is just the beginning. It's kindergarten of a 100-year schooling process in regards to what you need to come to learn and understand. However, we have been boxed in, and I'm not going to get on a diatribe, but we have been boxed into our understanding of life and what is real, looking only through our five senses and occulting and in the process obliterating the information regarding that which exists outside of the visible. And Mark's work, Passio, was so heavily bent on discussing and exposing occulted information. Again, occulted, OCC, not culted. Occulted meaning hidden information. This is what the powers that be know and hide from us, and this is how they manipulate and control us, is by accessing, understanding, and then using against us this information. And it is the information related to what is really transpiring, what and who we really are, how things really work. And if you can objectively, for a moment, take the idea with no emotional attachment, literally take the idea that 99.99% of everything you know and have been told is a lie, and then on top of that, take the idea that the piece that you do know represents only 0.000 with a lot more zeros, 1% of all the truth that exists, then you'll quickly objectively come to this understanding that, holy shit, there is so much more to unlearn, relearn, uncover, and dive into from a knowledge-based perspective. And so if you're able to grasp that, you know, you in the middle of the Grand Canyon, what, you know, insignificant molecule you are relative to that vastness. If you can very quickly come to that understanding of the enormity of what you do not know and not be emotionally attached to it, and, you know, create some sort of desire to enter that void of information, you can begin to grasp the significance of the path of knowledge I've been on, which has all been said to lead up to this initiation that I just had with Sethikus Boza, who is the originator of Black Earth Productions. So if Passio laid this amazing groundwork and foundation of natural/cosmic law and all of these different details regarding the occult, Boza is now coming in to provide a depth on the long view of history, and we're talking tens, hundreds of thousands to millions of years of our existence as the human race, and what has actually transpired here on this planet and in the invisible realms. The invisible realms being the mental bodies, emotional bodies, astral realm, etheric realm, so on and so forth. Potentially the places you travel when you take entheogens, you know, mushrooms, DMT, ayahuasca, etc. So in this initiation, it is focused primarily on astrotheology, which is very real, numerology, prefacing the alchemical process, and then a tarot reading. And if I haven't lost you at this point, again, this will at least serve as a journal entry for myself. The astrotheological reading, as most people know, of astrology was put in the news, you know, in the newspaper. Oh, I'm a Taurus today. I'm blah 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 blah. Right? They've very much bastardized it to the point of ridiculousness as far as what people read into it. That, but it is very real and has to do with when and where and at what time, the year, the time of day, and the geographical location of where you were born, and what the alignment was of the planets relative to the zodiac. And if you think all this is hooey, then you don't have the first piece of scant idea of how much the astro overlay is in all forms of religion, and to what degree it's believed and understood and manipulated against you by the powers that be. Anyway, I had a lot of, my moon was in Virgo, my sun is in Aries. I had a lot of things in the 5th house, and in the 6th house, and the 12th house. And that was all great. He was able to come to the understanding or knowing that apparently I'm very, very ancient in terms of, that would be related to first time I would have incarnated here. As far as how long ago I've existed, I think on this planet, or maybe the point of origin of my soul or spirit essence. Parked here. All right. And to preface the importance of the readings themselves, it is not just because it's interesting. In order to do what you came here to do, you must have a map. We all incarnated for a reason. Most of us have forgotten, and a lot of people don't appear to be desirous or willing to remember. But for those that do, once you come to that understanding that you're here for a reason, and this reason, the real reason, you know, not to pursue the American dream or some sort of inverted, perverted goal that they put out there for you to chase that keeps you from the real thing. Once you come to discover you have a definite purpose and you seek to walk that path, you need a map. And what is more foundational, important, pivotal, pick whatever word you want, to the beginning of that process is to know yourself. If I were to summarize the takeaways of Boza, and not to cut him short by any means, one of the overarching themes continually put forth is to know thyself, you know, and that's the most truncated version of the inscription at the Oracle of Delphi, is to know thyself. You know, the heavens are within you, and to know yourself, you will know the heavens and that which surrounds you. Ultimately, until you come to know yourself, you cannot appropriately follow a direction. And that is ultimately what the alchemical process is predicated on, is going deep, deep within. So how does one know themselves? Well, astrotheology is a great blueprint to help define who you are, so that you know your skills, your capabilities, your proclivities, and all of the above, so that you can navigate the path as you continue. And certainly if Moon in Virgo and Sun in Aries and my ascendant in Cancer, that doesn't have to mean anything to you right now. That's something that you can look into on your own. Everyone's going to have their own astro-theological reading. My South Star, I have a lot of, it was in Scorpio in the 6th house, and my North Star was in Taurus in the 12th house. And I won't get any further into that, just so that that's been captured on video. So, numerology, my master number was 11, which apparently is a leader number. He said if 1s and 8s are leader numbers, then 11 is a double 1. So, very significant in regards to the practical application of my disposition. It kept coming back to potentially how ancient of of a person or a soul that I am. We then went into the preliminary explanation on, what his Black Earth Productions and the Blue Flame Healing Arts is all about, and what it's all about, helping to facilitate and guide initiates into, and that is the alchemical process. And it certainly came with a warning to proceed with caution, because this is a very real undertaking of the individual on multiple levels or on multiple dimensions. And you go through a blackening stage, which can be very visceral, very depressing, and puts you into interaction with malevolent forces. But then you go through a whitening and a reddening phase, and this is all about healing. Until you heal yourself, you cannot become full, you cannot help others. It is the first steps necessary to undertake in order to really, go forth on your personal journey. And I won't get into any more details on that. Finally, and perhaps the most interesting, was my tarot reading, and it ended strangely. My first three cards were the Lover's card, the Eight of Pentacles, the Judgment card, and then the Nine of Swords and the Ten of Wands. And of course, I didn't know anything about it. And the Eight of Pentacles had to do with my path, and it was good. The Lover's card was good, and that doesn't necessarily have to mean a romantic relationship. It can mean a relationship with yourself or higher self, a relationship with higher source. The Judgment card was even positive. That one and the Lovers are both of the major arcana. So you've got major arcana and minor arcana. You got the microcosm, the macrocosm, the tarot. Could be or might be considered the oldest, most original form of symbolism, and it has survived the test of time. I used to think it was hooey, and I certainly don't anymore. It dates back, I don't know, tens of thousands of years, and was brought by Odin to those in Egypt. But real quick, the Nine of Swords, he said it's not a good card. He said it's the stuff of nightmares, and I don't know if this is something related to my deep past or something I will yet encounter, but it has left me intrigued, to say the least. And the Ten of Wands is related to unnecessary burden. So there's potential that something very major has been concealed from me, by me, either of past lineage, not exactly sure. He also said I didn't have any air in my my tree of astrotheology, which is strange. So that was the quick summary of the information he was able to provide me, and we'll just kind of tie this off real nicely. As I began this video, I was calling back to my earlier videos, I don't know, 3 to 4 years ago, when I first began not only recording my thoughts, but where I had begun in terms of the resources I had found to go down the rabbit holes. Proctor on the New Age side, that got me understanding the right-brained aspects of the invisible world on the spiritual side, and Cruz on the left side. And I find myself now taking the next steps to really come to terms with the invisible, the other dimensions, and the realms that surround us, because that is what is important in life. We have all been fed a lie, and most people are still believing it, and all but a few are still living within its confines. And it is important now more than ever to break out from that. The true potential of who and what we are as humans and the human race, and how far back our soul codex goes, and these other terms that Boza is talking about related to the cosmic history, who we are and what we are. You know, our DNA being limited from a 12 or 24 strand helix down to a 2. And what's been transpiring, as we've noticed, you know, vociferously since 2020, and that rollout that they've been initiating, you know, with great intention related to the transhumanist agenda. They are trying to snuff out our life force on all levels, mentally, biologically, emotionally, spiritually, and hence why I'm coming to find him now, since literally it's not just like the time is right, but the time is now, when taken from a long view of history, as he refers to what's transpired, you know, 26,500 years ago. So if, for a moment, you can allow yourself the idea that how religion has described life, the before and the after, or your scientism has described it, is all a crock of shit. And why we're really here is to master consciousness as a human in this 3D dimension. And you give yourself the opportunity to hold that as the truth, as the actual goal of being here. And you take a step back and you're like, okay, then if what I was doing was all going in the opposite direction, then I have to do an about face and continue or begin that journey. Then you can understand the significance of what I'm talking about and the importance of realigning your perceptions of reality to truth and making the necessary changes in your life to accomplish that. If everything else that you're doing is for naught, I mean, if it's literally just giving your energy away and you have so much more to do and create and you're walking in the wrong direction, why would you not turn around once you realize that? And I accept that most people won't find this believable or think this is just my perspective on the matter. But if you allow yourself that opportunity to entertain the thought that that almost everyone is doing it wrong and going in the wrong direction, and you've been given the chance and the clarity, really the clarity of information to pursue truth, why wouldn't you make a 180-degree turn? And this initiation is not a 180-degree turn. I was already on this path, but it is providing clarity of myself to better know thyself, so that I can go deeply within, heal, come back out, and live to that higher potential, and then share that information, that path, that journey, that capability with other people, so that we can collectively or in union together fulfill our potential and our birthright here on this planet. You know, it's the most important thing to do. So